On this episode of Citizen, this is the Zodiac speaking. We dig into Vallejo Times-Herald police reporter Dave Peterson's files about Zodiac's attack at Blue Rock Springs in Vallejo, California. The files include a transcript of the first police interview with victim Michael Mageau. Also, we will hear Peterson speak with the original detectives about two of the most popular Zodiac suspects. The perspective and insight offered by the original detectives to Dave Peterson in these audio files is invaluable. We've already explored a few of the circumstances which have plagued the case and its investigators. What other factors have caused the Zodiac case to remain unsolved for 57 years? Perhaps our inability to truly understand the Zodiac's motive has been paramount in our inefficiencies to identify him. What exactly was his motive? What was the deeper meaning of his acts? Could there be a psychotic meaning within the collective of his acts that we are unable to see? Throughout the chaos of the Zodiac attacks, Zodiac was lucid and cautious enough to elude capture on multiple occasions and thwart all investigative methods to trace him via the plentiful correspondence he authored and mailed to the San Francisco newspapers. Let's jump into what would have been Chapter 3 in Dave Peterson's book, Zodiac, the Reincarnation of Jack the Ripper. Chapter 3, titled Blue Rock Springs. Facts. 11:45 p.m., Friday, July 4th, 1969. 9mm automatic pistol used to shoot Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau. 40 minutes after the attack, Zodiac telephoned police to report the shooting. Here is Dave Peterson's 1977 interview with Vallejo Police Sergeant John Lynch.
Mageau told us him and Darlene were parked in that car, and this car pulled up behind him. And he says he turned and looked out the window, and he saw the guy with the flashlight. He turned to Darlene and he said, "Gee, the cops are going to come and check us out." And he says he was turned over like this, reaching for his wallet. And the guy just put the gun inside the window.
Inside Dave's files is a typed copy of the Vallejo PD interview with victim Michael Mageau. He was interviewed while he was still in the hospital and still sedated. It reads, Dee called him, and they agreed to go to a movie in San Francisco. And she said she'd be at his house at 7:30. Dee called again at 8 p.m. and said she had to go out with her sister, and that she'd call again when she was through. Dee next called at 10:30 to say she would be over shortly. Dee came to the house. Dee came to his house in Vallejo at approximately 11:30 p.m. that night, or shortly thereafter picked him up in her car. Since they were both hungry, he said they headed down to Springs Road, west toward Vallejo. However, at approximately Mr. Ed's restaurant, Dee said she wanted to talk with him and had something to talk with him about. And they turned around and at his suggestion drove east on Springs Road to Blue Rock Springs, where they could talk. After 5 minutes there, he said a car pulled in from Springs Road. The driver turned off his lights and pulled around to the left of her car, east of their car, some 6.5 feet from Dee's. The car remained there for about 1 minute, and during this time Mageau said he asked Dee if she knew who it was, and she stated, "Oh, never mind." Mageau said he did not know if this meant she knew who it was or not. The car left after about 1 minute at a high rate of speed, heading toward Vallejo on Springs Road. However, about 5 minutes later, it returned and parked on the passenger side and to the rear of their car, left its headlights on, and a man came up to the car carrying a flashlight with a handle on it. Mageau said they thought it was the police, and they started to get some identification out of their purse wallets, when suddenly the man started shooting. Migeot said it sounded like a gun that had a silencer on it. After firing repeatedly, the man turned to walk back to his car, but Migeot believes he cried out, and the man returned and fired 2 more shots at him and twice more at D. The man did not say a word and walked back to his car and left again at a high rate of speed. Migeot said the inside handle on his car door was missing. This was on the passenger side. He had to reach outside to open the door, and he tumbled out to the driveway. He said the car resembled a Corvair, was lighter than D's, which is brown in color, and had California plates. Migeot said he was unable to judge very well what the attacker looked like, as it was very dark, and he only saw the man in profile. He estimated his age at 26 to 30 years, height 5'8", beefy build, heavy-set, not blubbery fat. However, short, curly hair, light brown. He was wearing a short-sleeved shirt. His face appeared large, and he was not wearing glasses. Migeot emphasized it was dark out and hard to see. On July 19, 1969, Dave Peterson interviewed Michael Migeot as he sat in a wheelchair. This was Migeot's first interview for publication since being attacked. The article begins, "The code killer who has struck twice at holiday time is a San Franciscan who uses the Vallejo area as his hunting grounds. This is the belief of the only one of the 4 victims who has amazingly survived, although his body was shattered on the 4th of July by devastating 9mm slugs." Migeot described his attacker to Dave. He walked slowly with his head down. He was of stocky build and short, about 5'8" or 9 inches, weighing about 160 pounds. Migeot said his face was full. He was bareheaded and had wavy or curly light brown hair, and looked about 25 to 30 years old. He wore a blue shirt or sweater. The gunman uttered not a single word at any time, and Mrs. Farron gave no indication she knew him, he added. She could voice only a moan after the withering attack. In the time between the police interview and his interview with Peterson, Migeot seemingly sets the record straight that Darlene was not implying that she knew the attacker or his car. And that's important because for decades, the notion that Darlene may have known her attacker has weighed the investigation with misinformation. Here's more of Dave Peterson speaking with Vallejo Police Sergeant John Lynch, who describes how things unfolded after the shooting.
Were there any angles about Blue Rock or Lake Herman that didn't come out that you feel are important leads in the 2 cases?
No. We did find a kid, Andy Nicolatis, who drove by within minutes after this thing happened. See, that was the 4th of July, and there was a lot of firecrackers going off, and nobody paid any attention to gunshots. And he said he saw Migeot laying under the back of the car, just where we found him, and he was reaching up. Apparently what he was trying to do was pull himself up off the ground, and Nicolatis said he thought, he just got the impression that the guy's taillight was out, and he was trying to fix it, or fooling with his license plate or something, so he just drove on.
Who was it who finally found them and reported them, you know?
Somebody reported that there were gunshot wounds at Blue Rock Springs, and there's even a possibility that Zodiac himself phoned in and said it. Because they have a tape of the conversation. You know, he phoned from Tuolumne, and Oh, it was Ohio, I believe, or Springs Road. No, it was Ohio Street. Tuolumne in Ohio, there's used to be a Union service station there, and Zodiac made a phone call from that station, and he never hung the phone up. Just let it dangle like he did in Napa.
Uh,
And I think that's why we went out to Blue Rock Springs.
And so begins Zodiac's communication with police. He called to report his own murders. And then, 3.5 weeks later, Zodiac sent the 3 letters to the newspapers: the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. Each letter had a section of the cipher commonly referred to as the Z408. All 3 letters had the same written text. They were all postmarked San Francisco, California, on July 31st, 1969. The letters read, "Dear Editor, this is the murderer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman, the girl on the 4th of July near the golf course in Vallejo. To prove I killed them, I shall state some facts which only I, plus the police, know. Christmas. 1. Brand name of ammo, Super X. 2. 10 shots were fired. 3. The boy was on his back with his feet to the car. 4. The girl was on her right side, feet to the west. 4th of July. 1. Girl was wearing patterned slacks. 2. The boy was also shot in the knee. 3. Brand name of ammo was Western." Here is part of a cipher. The other 2 parts of this cipher are being mailed to the editors of the Vallejo Times and San Francisco Examiner. I want you to print this cipher on the front page of your paper. In this cipher is my identity. If you do not print this cipher by the afternoon of Friday, 1st of August, 69, I will go on a killing rampage Friday night. I will cruise around all weekend killing lone people in the night, then move on to kill again until I end up with a dozen people over the weekend. Amateur code breakers, Mr. and Mrs. Hardin, broke the 3 sections of the Z408 cipher. Here's what the plaintext read. I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all the people I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow me down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife." And there's a chunk of extra letters. Zodiac explained, all the people he has killed will become his slaves, as he is collecting slaves for his afterlife. What type of esoteric dogma exactly is this? Here is more of Peterson's interview with Vallejo Police Sergeant John Lynch.
But I don't know. It just seems to me that anybody that has a legitimate suspect, that guy can be eliminated, definitely. And
prints and handwriting.
prints and handwriting. No question in my mind about that.
Good. Do you feel that there's much chance left to solve this thing after it's been going on for possibly 13 years or more now?
Oh, Jesus. There's always a good possibility of that. Jesus, I know the San Francisco Police Department, they have so much information, file after file, concerning that. The guy might be right in the files. He might be right in our files, for all we know.
According to Lynch, the guy could be right in the files. And furthermore, the guy could be right here in Dave Peterson's files.
During the time the investigation was going on, there was no way in the world we could even keep up with the list of suspects that we were getting. And you'd almost have to mount it to 25, 30, 40, 50 a day. Everybody was phoning in, writing letters, postcards. And you'd almost have to, sometimes with very little investigation, eliminate because there were so many of them. And then the ones that looked good to you, then them are the ones you had to concentrate on. And, geez, I must have made 50 trips up to Sacramento with physical evidence to be eliminated. But nothing come together for it.
You mentioned that one fellow that was picked up that said that Zodiac used astrology. Did you run into astrology in any other instances?
There was 5 or 6 references to it throughout. In fact, there might have even been more. When you go through these, you'll see. And one Stanford professor wrote us a letter one time that after that cipher had been decoded, he felt sure that the way that thing was written, that it was written by somebody who had lived at one time in the Far East. And
picked up that killing slaves with the afterlife?
Yeah.
A type of religious dogma that includes the afterlife seemed to be an important theme to understand. Just like astrology, when attempting to try and understand Zodiac's communications and actions. I went back to Dave Peterson's personal notes and letters. His writings revealed that Darlene's first husband, Jim Crabtree Phillips, was Dave's best Zodiac suspect. Dave had learned of Jim Crabtree Phillips's deep interests in spiritualism and astrology. Dave believed astrology, numerology, and occultism were the foundation of the Zodiac's modus operandi. I read the Vallejo police reports years prior to seeing Dave's files. I was also aware that in 2011, a photo of Darlene and a man who looked a lot like the Zodiac composite turned up on the internet, causing a stir. People hypothesized that the man in the photo could be Darlene's first husband. I was told by a person who knew the couple back in the mid-60s that it was in fact Darlene's first husband in the photo. This ramped up even more suspicion about him possibly being Zodiac, when coupled with the Vallejo police reports, as the pages reveal a potentially important clue: contradicting statements regarding her first husband's attendance at Darlene's funeral. In this next audio interview, Dave and Vallejo Police Detective Jack Mullinax discuss the case and Darlene's ex-husband.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well,
how far along are you in this book?
just getting started on the actual writing. I've been spending my time researching the thing since I retired at the Times Herald on the 23rd of December. This is that second cipher, you know, that never did come out with a coherent message on the thing. And it looks to me like Zodiac must have known Farron pretty well to stick these things in the cipher. Worked over in the city, didn't she, at AT&T?
Well, she lived there at one time. When she was first married,
You live out in Haight-Ashbury with Phillips there?
I don't recall the guy's name.
Jim
I know he
Phillips?
was at one time supposed to be the suspect. I went down to Santa Cruz and interviewed him and tried to arrest him.
Jim Phillips.
Jack Ward from this area. But primarily out there.
Did you clear him on prints and writing?
He was cleared, yeah.
Yeah.
Writing. Well, of course, French, we don't have to print.
Well, Toski thinks he
Well,
does.
yeah, I don't never indicated anything but palm print.
Uh,
And that's it's up in the air whether or not it could be Zodiac. That's what it took out of it.
Yeah.
With that map.
Well, they thought they got some out of the cab, off the cab, with blood on the prints, you know. They figured it had to be Zodiac after he shot that cab driver. And I asked Toski, I said, do you think you could make the guy if you get him? And he said, yes, we feel we can.
Actually, Zodiac is something of a dead issue now as far as law enforcement. I mean, there's nothing.
Nobody's really working it right now, right? If something developed new, like, you know, they get on it, I suppose. No, well, they can't spend all their time on a case like that.
There's probably been more man hours on this particular case, but in cases that I'm aware of it.
Mel Nikolai said the other day that they're approaching 9,000 suspects they've checked out. I think that maybe, I know that her husband lived out in Haight-Ashbury district for a while in the city.
Crabtree?
Phillips, James Douglas Phillips Crabtree.
Yep.
And so Zodiac could have hung out around in there somewhere, you know. The rest of the kooks, I don't know. Possible.
Well, it's such a complex case that damn anything could be possible.
Yeah.
We just don't know enough about
This Jim Phillips, the guy that you picked up on at the Santa Cruz area, didn't he put a Zodiac symbol on a card one time or something?
Don't recall that. There's nothing about the man actually that was, after you talked to him, that would indicate Zodiac. The physical description didn't fit, nothing fit, you know, except, I frankly don't recall how the hell I ever was turned on to him as him being the suspect.
Didn't he go to the funeral or something? After they
Well,
busted
sure
up?
he did, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe that was it.
No, he was given anyway, somebody. Oh, yeah, the family. The Seward family. That's where it is. But, I was convinced after talking to Santa Cruz that he was Zodiac, but I had to $10,000 warrant for it, so I ran his money back, and then we ran it to the
The Peterson case files include Crabtree's state of California criminal arrest record. In July of '65, Crabtree was arrested at the Post Stockade Presidio of San Francisco for charges of AWOL and failure to obey an order. Crabtree's files show he had his own FBI file number and a growing record of arrests. He was arrested 4 times in May of 1968, twice in San Francisco, once in Berkeley and once in Oakland, for possession of narcotics, possession of weapons, and multiple counts of fictitious checks. The files also include a copy of a telegram sent to the Vallejo police chief. Dave Peterson keeps pressing Mullinax for as much info as possible on Darlene's first husband. Listen.
Do you remember, Jack, some woman who telegraphed to Jack Stilts to pick up this Jim Phillips as a Zodiac suspect? She lived down in Pleasanton. Do you recall who the hell she was?
Crabtree, that's the same guy?
Yeah.
No.
Her name was Cheris Harris, and the only reason I'm interested in her is that Zodiac mailed one message from Pleasanton, you know. She lived in Pleasanton. Wired Stilts to pick up this Jim Phillips.
Where is that
Zodiac suspect.
As I recall, this Phillips or Crabtree was brought to our attention through the family, through Darlene Barron's family.
Vallejo Police Detective Jack Mullinax picked him up on a warrant in January of 1970. Mullinax showed up at Jim's court hearing and picked him up for questioning in Darlene's murder. He reacted to the news of Darlene's murder and told Mullinax this was the first time he heard she was dead. Jim's reaction contradicts a statement in the same Vallejo police report by Darlene's mother, Mrs. Sunan. She stated that Darlene's ex-husband attended Darlene's funeral. I had read the Vallejo police reports on Crabtree Phillips prior to the 50th anniversary gatherings, so I asked Darlene's brothers about Darlene's first husband and asked them specifically about Darlene's funeral. Here's the audio from my interview with them at the crime scene 50 years after their sister was murdered by Zodiac. Back when this happened, so back in the early 70s, okay, after this had happened,
Okay.
what was your family's thoughts on who was the murderer?
They had so many detectives. We were so in the investigations that the Vallejo cops, Contra County, whatever, they wanted to stop our investigations. They did not want the family to be involved in investigations. So they did anything they can to stop it. My dad said, I can't control my children. My children they're going to investigate the death of their sister, and I can't stop them. I can't stop them. And
Did the family feel about Jim Crabtree, Jim Phillips?
Jim Phillips. I told you I didn't care for him. Yeah. He's asking about Jim Phillips, which was her husband. Her first husband. Yeah.
I was interested in finding out what the family had felt about him.
I didn't like him. I didn't
care for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just, he just didn't fit the pattern my sister would go out with.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And there was a discrepancy that came to my eye and has come to many eyes. Anybody that looks at the police files from Vallejo. When Jim is finally interviewed months later after Darlene's death, he acts like the police are telling him that she was murdered for the first time, and this is 6 months later.
Yeah.
The family, you guys, your parents.
I didn't know about that.
That Jim was actually at her funeral with his new girlfriend.
We had no funeral.
Who was pregnant.
We had no funeral.
There was no funeral.
No.
Okay, so that.
She was cremated.
That's.
Dean went out there and cremated before the family even had a chance to say anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would there have ever been a time when Jim could have come to a service for her, where the family would have seen him?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
How old were you at the time?
15. Almost 16.
So your brother was 11 and you were around 15
16.
or
Yeah.
16?
He's 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Jim Phillips, I don't like him. I never liked him. Like I told you that one time about how he disrespected my sister.
Tell me about that. I don't think you did.
About turning he turned the radio off when she was listening to one of her songs that she liked. She loved music. We all love music. We're a music-oriented family, and he turned it off, and I was in the back seat. She was giving me a ride somewhere, and it very, very upset me. But I was only like 10 or 11 years old.
Sure.
Right. So there's not much I can do.
But there were other things that turned up in reports about that came perhaps from your mother or your father at the time about Jim, saying that the family did not like Jim. That's expressed.
Nobody liked him. I mean, nobody liked him, but he's just an unlikable guy.
Yeah.
My sister didn't stay married from long either.
So, I mean, he has popped up as a person of interest in the case. And did the family ever have a thought about him, whether or not?
No, he wasn't a Zodiac.
No?
No. He didn't fit the criteria as a serial killer.
Personally, I don't know. I don't know if he's capable of that, and I don't know him that much. But it wasn't really popped up. It wasn't.
Well, here's the thing. We have documents. There are documents. He has a pretty lengthy arrest record.
Yeah. Which one?
In the years,
Jim Phillips?
Yeah, leading up to this.
Oh,
he went AWOL out of the Presidio.
Oh, he AWOL from the Army?
Yeah. So he was based there, and he went AWOL.
In the Presidio in San Francisco?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when they actually lived together in a residence, like not a hostel, but a place called a Harcourt residence. And
in San Francisco?
Yes,
in San Francisco.
He was the night watchman, and they lived there together.
She did have a little job in Haight-Ashbury, I think.
Yeah, Haight-Ashbury, yeah. A telephone job.
For me, what I wanted to ask you guys is what you think of Jim Phillips. And your brother says no way. Is there any possibilities, because you don't know a lot of the background probably about Jim. That is.
No, well, I just know from being in the family. That's all I know. I know his background.
And he was only married very, very short time. Did he meet her in the Virgin Islands?
No. She took him to the Virgin Islands.
Oh, okay.
They went together.
For a honeymoon or something like that.
Then he came back. He stayed with her about 3 or 4 more months, and she divorced him. Then she met Dean Farron.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Farron, yeah.
I believe we can move on from Darlene's first husband without suspicion, albeit he did sound shady as hell in an interview for a Discovery Channel documentary in 2023. This next audio section is Vallejo Police Detective Jack Mullinax describing the one suspect he was actually hot for. It's Arthur Lee Allen.
Well, of all the guys, it's up to 100 that I investigated to some extent. And there's only but one guy that really turned me on.
Is that the one that Toski came up on?
Right. Yeah.
He told me about him. He was number 1 with him, I think.
Have you ever read that report? Would you like to?
Sure would.
Dave and Bill, but they don't keep report our back reports like we did that.
Yeah, right.
But they don't,
He's got a good collection of messages, though. I didn't have that one where he used a service station map and put his symbol around Mount Diablo, you remember? And Toski got that for me. Oh, I'm looking at that. Here's this, where's Burson, Cal? Or where's Burson, California, do you know? Burson? Is that around Sacramento? Burson. I never heard of it. Little towns I never heard of.
no, he was down Santa Cruz for a while.
Oh.
Also, at the time of this first Zodiac murder, down in Riverside, he was down there.
He had to wait, all right, didn't he?
Yeah, well, too much. Because victims have a tendency to over. So they exaggerate on the person's height and weight.
Zodiac watch on, huh? Paul Avery has always thought that that's where the Zodiac got his name, you know. He's been into astrology. So. He's even into the most dangerous game, huh? Boy, he did look promising, didn't he?
I guess that Dave and Bill, they interviewed the people that sent us letters extensively, and they were both convinced that these guys were telling the truth. There's no doubt in my mind what they're doing.
He even wrote symbols in that letter. Didn't have much of a police record.
No, well, I think 115. He was a weird guy.
With his mama.
Yeah. He was rejected at one time, and the only time anybody's ever shown him to have a girlfriend. He's never been married. By this Bobby Lorenz, I think her name was, that she was a world-class diver here in Vallejo.
Oh.
And he went with her when he was young, and she got married or something, and he went off the rocket. And he was fired from this recreation district here because he was fooling around with kids. There's no publicity on it. I mean, that's like a story.
You ever put him on anything? Even a flashlight attached to a gun, huh? Well,
What's enough in that? The really better guys, adrenaline starts with.
God, yeah.
But by God, we get
He was then you sent notes. Huh? He probably would read this stuff and then take it over, kind of, huh? With his own. Man. So,
the San Francisco guy, they got a search warrant. Did they tell you about that?
I don't believe so.
Okay, after this was over, they weren't satisfied, you know, that the handwriting couldn't be matched and what have you. Physical script was maybe a little bit too big. So they got a search warrant. In the meantime, this guy had moved and was living, he's a professional student.
Oh.
He has a hell of an education. Smart. So he was living in a trailer over at Sonoma and going to school over there. So they got a search warrant, went and searched his trailer. They found dildos, chipmunks that the guy at his farm that was keeping frozen. Just all kinds of screwy little things.
And here's San Francisco Police Department Inspector Dave Toski speaking about his investigation of Arthur Lee Allen.
I heard a while back that you had 10 or 12 suspects, but I believe you said something about none of them were too hot. You didn't consider any of them to be great suspects or something
You
like
mean
that.
recently?
Yeah.
The last few months?
Oh no, this was some time ago.
Oh, you mean
said you had
through the years?
I assume so.
Yeah,
That you
yeah.
had a number of
Through the
suspects, but
7.5
never really had a hot one that you thought.
We, Bill Armstrong and I had one man in particular that we liked very, very much. It began over in the area where Jack Mullinax was, Vallejo area. And then it led us to Sonoma County, around Santa Rosa there. And he looked better than anything we had ever come across. I mean, if anybody should have been the Zodiac killer, this man fit everything. Some members of his family, in fact, brothers and brother-in-laws, who remember him talking about slaves in paradise and these ambidextrous with a bow and arrow and a rifle and things like this. And physically, he actually resembled what the Zodiac would have looked like had we apprehended him. And we checked him out. We got a search warrant. We went into a trailer in Sonoma County. I'm going back about 4 years now. And we did what we thought was a very, very thorough job with the help of the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. And he was ruled out negative. He is in Mendocino State Hospital now. He was a child person. He had some difficulties.
I'm trying to remember which case that was. I'm trying to do about which guy you're talking about.
Yeah. But we've got an extensive file on him. And in fact, he's written to me several times in the last few months. He kind of keeps track of what I'm doing. And I guess periodically he reads something on Zodiac, and he says that he'll never forget the time that we approached him. I thought that he might be Zodiac.
You cleared him on the prints and the writing, though, I take it.
Cleared him on everything. We had him right with everything with his toes. We cleared him on everything. We cleared him on dates, places, and just ruled him out completely. But they had him on some child molesting cases because he was very, very disturbed. And that's what was attracting attention to a lot of other people, too. That's how we got him here in San Francisco. But, I'd have to say he was our best suspect for appearance and for reading, background, talking about slaves, very strange individual, dissecting animals and things like that. But it wasn't him.
We're moving on from Darlene Ferrin's first husband, Jim Crabtree Phillips, and moving past Arthur Lee Allen. For Last in Line Pictures, I'm Trey Borzilleri, and this is Citizen True Crime Podcast. On the next episode of Citizen, this is the Zodiac speaking. We follow Dave Peterson's Zodiac files and interviews with the original case detectives to Lake Berryessa, the site of Zodiac's third attack. For additional content from this episode, visit the Last in Line Pictures YouTube channel. Search at Last in Line Pictures.